Adebimpe had always dreamt of a fairy tale marriage, one filled with love, understanding and partnership. Growing up in a small town in Nigeria, she had been surrounded by stories of great love and the strength of family. When she met Olayinka, a charming and ambitious young man from the city, she believed she had found her own fairy tale. Olayinka was everything she had hoped for in a partner: kind, intelligent, and hardworking. But little did she know that behind his charm lay the shadow of a domineering mother who would stop at nothing to control their lives. The wedding was a grand affair, the kind that people in Adebimpe's village would talk about for years. Olayinka's family was well-to-do, and his mother, Madam Aduni, spared no expense in ensuring that everything was perfect. But amid the celebrations, Adebimpe noticed something that made her uneasy. Madam Aduni's smile never reached her eyes, and she seemed to watch Adebimpe with a cold, calculating gaze. After the wedding, Adebimpe moved into Olayinka's family home in Ibadan, a sprawling mansion that felt more like a fortress than a home. From the moment she set foot in the house, she could feel the weight of Madam Aduni's presence. The older woman ran the household with an iron fist, and it quickly became clear that she expected to have the same control over Adebimpe's life. Adebimpe tried her best to adjust to her new life. She was determined to make her marriage work, to be a good wife to Olayinka and a respectful daughter-in-law to Madam Aduni. But no matter how hard she tried, it was never enough for her mother-in-law. "Adebimpe, the soup is too salty," Madam Aduni would say, her tone dripping with disdain. "Didn't your mother teach you how to cook properly?" "Adebimpe, why are you still sitting? There's work to be done in the kitchen. A good wife doesn't laze around all day." Olayinka, who had always been so attentive and loving before the wedding, began to change as well. He seemed to fall more and more under his mother's influence, taking her side in every disagreement and criticizing Adebimpe for the smallest things. "You should listen to my mother, Adebimpe," Olayinka would say. "She knows what's best for us." Adebimpe felt like a stranger in her own home. The love and warmth she had hoped for in her marriage were nowhere to be found. Instead, she was left feeling isolated, constantly belittled by her mother-in-law and unsupported by her husband. The final straw came when Adebimpe discovered she was pregnant. She had hoped that the news would bring some joy into their lives, that the prospect of a grandchild would soften Madam Aduni's heart and bring Olayinka back to her side. But when she shared the news with her husband, his reaction was far from what she had expected. "A baby? Now?" Olayinka had said, his voice filled with irritation. "Do you think we are ready for that, Adebimpe? My mother says we should wait until we are more established." Adebimpe was crushed. She had thought that becoming parents would bring them closer together, but instead, it only seemed to drive a deeper wedge between them. And when she told Madam Aduni, the older woman's response was even more chilling. "A baby?" Madam Aduni had sneered. "You think you can trap my son with a child? Don't think for a moment that this will make you more important in this house. You're nothing without my approval." Adebimpe knew then that something had to change. She couldn't bring a child into such a toxic environment. She had to find a way to reclaim her life, to stand up to the woman who was determined to make her miserable. But she also knew that she couldn't do it alone. Adebimpe found solace in one place where Madam Aduni had no control: her work. Before her marriage, she had been a teacher in her village, beloved by her students and respected by her colleagues. After moving to Ibadan, she had taken a job at a local school, determined to maintain some independence and contribute to her household. It was in the classroom, surrounded by eager young minds, that Adebimpe felt most like herself. Teaching was her passion, and it gave her a sense of purpose that she desperately needed. But even this small piece of happiness did not go unnoticed by Madam Adoni. The older woman began to make snide comments about Adebimpe's job, questioning why she needed to work when Olayinka provided more than enough for them. Adebimpe, a good wife focuses on her home, not on some trivial job, Madam Adoni would say. What kind of mother will you be if you are always running off to work? Olayinka once again sided with his mother. She's right, Adebimpe. You should be here, taking care of the house and preparing for the baby. You don't need to work. But Adebimpe refused to give up her job. She knew that it was a lifeline, the one thing that kept her grounded in the face of her mother-in-law's constant pressure. She also knew that if she gave in to Madam Adoni's demands, she would lose herself completely. As the months passed, Adebimpe's situation at home grew increasingly unbearable. Madam Adoni meddling intensified and Olayinka became more distant. He spent long hours at work, and when he was home, he barely spoke to Adebimpe except to criticize her. The love that had once drawn them together seemed to have evaporated, leaving only resentment and bitterness in its place. Adebimpe began to confide in her colleagues at school, who noticed the changes in her demeanor and the growing sadness in her eyes. One colleague in particular, a woman named Omolola, became a close friend and confidant. Omolola was older, with a wealth of life experience, and she could see that Adebimpe was struggling. Adebimpe, you can't let this continue, Omolola said one afternoon as they sat in the staff room. You are strong and you deserve better than this. You have to stand up for yourself, for your child. Adebimpe sighed, feeling the weight of her friend's words. But what can I do, Omolola? Olayinka doesn't listen to me anymore. He only cares about what his mother thinks. And she's impossible to please. Omolola reached across the table and took Adebimpe's hand. You are not alone in this. You have friends who care about you. And remember, you have the right to be happy, to live your life on your own terms. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Adebimpe nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. She knew Omolola was right, but the thought of confronting Madam Adoni and Olayinka was terrifying. Yet, she also knew that she couldn't continue living in fear, especially with a baby on the way. As Adebimpe's pregnancy progressed, she began to make quiet preparations for the future. She saved a portion of her salary each month, building a small nest egg in case she needed to leave. She also started researching legal options, learning about her rights as a wife and mother in Nigerian law. Omolola introduced her to a lawyer, Mr. Akim, who provided her with valuable advice and assured her that she had options if things didn't improve. But despite her preparations, Adebimpe held out hope that Olayinka would come to his senses, that he would see how his mother was destroying their marriage and make an effort to change. She tried to talk to him on several occasions, but each time he brushed her off or grew angry, accusing her of trying to turn him against his mother. Adebimpe, I am tired of this, Olayinka snapped one evening when she brought up her concerns. My mother has done nothing but help us, and you are the one who keeps causing problems. Why can't you just get along with her? Adebimpe felt her heart break a little more with each harsh word. She had tried so hard to make their marriage work, but it was becoming clear that Olayinka was no longer the man she had fallen in love with. He had allowed his mother to manipulate him, to poison their relationship, and now he was pushing Adebimpe away. The final blow came one night when Adebimpe overheard a conversation between Olayinka and Madam Aduni. She had been on her way to the kitchen when she heard their voices coming from the living room. Curious, she paused in the hallway, just out of sight, and listened. "Olayinka, you need to be firm with her," Madam Aduni was saying. "Adebimpe has become too independent, too defiant. She's not the obedient wife you need." "I know, mother," Olayinka replied, his tone weary. "But what can I do? She's pregnant, and I don't want to cause any more stress." "Pregnant or not, you can't let her continue like this," Madam Aduni insisted. "She needs to learn her place. If she won't listen to you, then maybe it's time to consider other options." Adebimpe's blood ran cold. She didn't know what those other options were, but she knew that she couldn't stay in that house any longer. Madam Aduni was determined to break her, to turn Olayinka completely against her, and Adebimpe feared for her safety and the safety of her unborn child. That night, as she lay in bed, Adebimpe made a decision. She would leave. She would take her child and start a new life, away from the toxic influence of her mother-in-law and the husband who had abandoned her. It was a terrifying thought, but it was also the only way she could see to protect herself and her baby. Adebimpe's plan was set into motion. She continued to save money and secretly packed a few belongings, preparing for the day when she would leave. She also spoke to Mr. Hakim, who helped her understand her legal rights and options for custody and support. With his guidance, she felt more confident about her decision. The day Adebimpe had chosen to leave arrived, and she felt a mix of fear and determination. She packed her things while Olayinka was at work and left a note for him, explaining that she could no longer endure the situation and that she was leaving to protect herself and their child. She hoped that one day he would understand her decision and see the truth of what had happened. As she walked out of the house, Adebimpe felt a pang of sadness. She had once hoped to build a life with Olayinka, but now she was leaving behind the dreams she had cherished. She held her head high, knowing that she was doing what was best for her and her baby. Adebimpe moved into a small apartment in a different part of the city, far from Olayinka and Madam Aduni's reach. She found a job at a local school and began to rebuild her life. It was a challenging transition, but she found strength in her new routine and the support of her friends. Months passed, and Adebimpe's baby was born. A beautiful, healthy girl whom she named Adura. As a mother, Adebimpe found a new sense of purpose and joy. Despite the difficulties she faced, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment in providing for her daughter and creating a loving home for her. But life in her new apartment was not without its challenges. Adebimpe faced financial struggles and long hours at work, but she was determined to make it work. She was also mindful of her legal situation, knowing that she would need to navigate the complexities of custody and child support if Olayinka ever decided to seek involvement in Adura's life. One day, as Adebimpe was at home with Adura, there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find Mr. Hakim standing outside, holding a stack of papers. "Adebimpe, I have some news for you," he said, his expression serious. "Olayinka has filed for custody for Adura, claiming that you abandoned the family and that is concerned for the child's well-being." Adebimpe's heart sank. She had anticipated that Olayinka might try to contest her decision, but the reality of it was overwhelming. She had tried to do everything by the book to protect herself and her daughter, but now she faced a legal battle. that she wasn't prepared for. Mr. Hakim continued, "We will need to prepare a strong case to demonstrate that you've been a good mother and that you've acted in Adura's best interests. I believe you have a strong case, but it will require effort and determination." Adebimpe nodded, feeling a surge of determination. She would fight for her daughter, no matter how difficult the battle. She knew that the road ahead would be tough, but she was ready to face it head-on. The legal proceedings began, and Adebimpe found herself in a courtroom, facing Olayinka and Madam Aduni for the first time since she had left. The tension was palpable, and Adebimpe felt a mix of fear and resolve as she prepared to present her case. Olayinka's lawyer argued that Adebimpe had abandoned her responsibilities and that he was the more suitable parent for Adura. They presented evidence of Adebimpe's departure and painted her in a negative light. Madam Aduni watched from the sidelines, her expression one of cold satisfaction. But Adebimpe was not alone. Mr. Hakim presented evidence of her commitment to Adura's well-being, including her stable job, the support of her friends, and her dedication to providing a loving home for her daughter. Omolola and other friends testified to Adebimpe's character and the hardships she had endured. The judge listened carefully to both sides, and Adebimpe could see the skepticism in his eyes as Olayinka's lawyer presented their case. She knew that she had to make a compelling argument to show that she was a responsible and loving mother who had acted in Adura's best interests. When it was Adebimpe's turn to speak, she took a deep breath and recounted her experiences, her struggles, and her love for her daughter. She spoke honestly and openly about the toxic environment she had left and the sacrifices she had made to provide for Adura. Her voice wavered with emotion, but her determination shone through. In the end, the judge ruled in Adebimpe's favor. He recognized her commitment to Adura and acknowledged the negative influence of Madam Aduni and Olayinka's behavior. Adebimpe was granted custody of her daughter, with visitation rights for Olayinka if he chose to exercise them. As Adebimpe left the courtroom, she felt a profound sense of relief and triumph. She had fought for her daughter's future and had won. It wasn't the end of her challenges, but it was a significant victory. Olayinka and Madam Aduni were left to confront the consequences of their actions. Olayinka's relationship with his mother was strained, and he had to come to terms with the fact that he had lost his family because of his inability to stand up for what was right. Adebimpe returned to her apartment, holding Adura close. She knew that their journey was far from over, but she was ready to face whatever comes next. With the support of her friends and the strength she had found within herself, she was determined to build a bright future for her daughter. Life gradually returned to a sense of normalcy for Adebimpe and Adura. The little apartment, once a symbol of uncertainty, became a place of warmth and joy. Adebimpe's resilience had paid off, and she found herself embracing each day with renewed hope. Her teaching job continued to bring her fulfillment, and she enjoyed watching Adura grow and thrive. Though there were still challenges to overcome, Adebimpe faced them with a sense of purpose and strength. She knew that her journey had not been easy, but she had emerged stronger and more determined than ever. Adebimpe and Olayinka had minimal contact after the court ruling. Olayinka visited Adura occasionally, but the relationship between him and Adebimpe remained strained. Madam Aduni, on the other hand, was no longer a part of their lives, and Adebimpe felt a sense of peace knowing that she had taken control of her own destiny. Adebimpe's courage and determination had not only secured a better future for her daughter, but had also shown her the power of standing up for oneself and seeking justice. Adebimpe looked back on her journey with a sense of pride and gratitude. She had faced adversity head-on and had come out stronger on the other side. With each passing day, she continued to build a life filled with love, hope, and promise, knowing that she had fought for what was right and had created a future worth cherishing. Hey fam, what did you learn from this story? Please share your thoughts in the comment section, and please don't forget to subscribe and like to support this channel. God bless you. Thank you.